Hello, you are listening to Cali Chats, a healthy living podcast with a goal of helping you find true happiness within your mind, body, and soul. I'm Jessie Cali, and it is time to get real. Hello, welcome back to Cali Chats. Today, I have my Cali Creates co-writer and sister, Jackie. Hey, Jackie. Jackie?
Hi, Jessie.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you could hear me with your fancy microphone over there.
Yes, I could hear you. Happy to be back and talk to you about life.
Well, glad, Jackie. Yeah, so Jackie is back today because she's going to be talking about her upcoming blog, and she's also going to dive into today's topic with me. And that topic is working through slumps. So if you listened to episode 2 last week, that topic pretty much flows into what we're talking about today. So if you haven't heard it, you should go check it out. I talk through the different ways to get motivated in there, and we talk about these invisible barriers that you might have and how to tear those down. So we talk about breaking down those barriers and getting back to being motivated. But today we are diving into that topic even further, and we're focusing in on specifically slumps, which is like pretty on topic for us, Jackie, considering we're both working through slumps on our own.
Yeah. And I'd like to touch on that because in last week's podcast, Jessie was throwing some shade like I had not
Was I?
written and submitted a blog to her to read.
Was I?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I must have forgotten that
We were
piece of
we
the
were
podcast.
workshopping titles of a blog she had not yet read. So I was waiting for
Listen.
feedback.
Yes, I did that. I did throw shade. I didn't forget. I was like, can't tell you what the name of the blog is because I don't know it.
But it does work into what we're talking about because Jessie was working through a slump. I was working through a slump. So I had submitted it to her and she was working through that slump by looking for cassette tapes like she talked about last time as well. So
Yeah, which I still haven't found. So frustrating.
we might have burned them. I don't know.
Burn them. Why would you burn them? They were so good.
Jessie did tell only a half truth though, because she said she hadn't found any of our recordings. She did, in fact, find a recording of her in like second grade singing Shania Twain
Oh,
songs.
yes, honey. I was working it. Okay, but that wasn't on topic. That's not what we were talking about. I was trying to find the Harry Potter tapes and I found me singing Jackie's award winning song, Anything is Possible. I did sing that in there and I found out more lyrics that I had forgotten. You could even be a senator or even the mayor.
Verse 2. Nobody remembers the second verse.
And then, yes, I sing a lot of Shania Twain songs, which proves to be pretty hilarious because I was like either in first or second grade singing about PMS and beer. I don't know if that was the same song, but I was like, did I really sing that on a tape recorder? Oh, whatever.
She did, and she also tried to blame it on me. She said, "This is Jackie singing." We're not sure why.
Oh my gosh. So I start using this voice, and the funny thing is life is just such a cycle because when I hear my voice, I hear my nephews. Like I can hear Jax in my voice, I can hear Zachary in my. It's insane. It's wild that life. That I mean, they are Callies, so it makes sense. But anyway, yeah, there's this piece of it where I make a voice like this, like I'm making fun of Jackie, and I say, "Oh, that was Jackie singing Shania Twain." It's so good. And Jackie's like, "Wait, is that me?" I was like, "No, that is not you." Oh goodness.
Yep. So while I was working through my slump, Jessie was calling me in her slump to play me cassette tape. So it worked out.
Yeah, we both really were on topic with what we needed to get done that week. But getting back on topic for us, I wanted to touch on some updates that are about the blog and the podcast. So, Jackie's blog is going to launch on June 27th, and we are calling it Congratulations, Slump. You've been winning.
I know. It's a great title. Thanks, Jessie. She finally read the blog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
and
read the
and
blog,
workshop some titles.
and then I chose the title. Jackie doesn't like making titles or first sentences.
First sentences and titles are the bane of my existence. If I could do anything else,
You would?
I would. But it's only because they're so important, titles and first sentences, so
It is true. That's probably why it's hard. And then next month, our new theme is going to be celebrating the wins, no matter how small. So I figured that would be a good topic to start with in July, just because in June, we're talking about slumps, we're talking about working through these hard times and getting back to a motivated place. And in May was very mental health focused and a lot of different things about getting yourself back to being the best version of you. So I figured why not have July be more about celebrating those wins when it seems really hard? So we're talking about hard times now, but next thing we're going to talk about is celebrating those wins and how to get you there. Sound good, Jackie?
sounds great. I do what I'm told here.
Jackie, you need to get your energy level up. I'm going to have to nix you from the podcast if we're going to be doing this. Oh no, someone's opening the garage below me. That's a fun fact, everyone. Y'all are like, "Why am I here? Why am I listening to this?" Well, because Jackie and I have a lot of stories.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm recording from Jackie's old bedroom.
yep, and you can hear everything below because it's over the garage.
Jackie's old bedroom was above the garage, and she she unfortunately would always be woken up anytime someone came home late or anytime the door was like opened and slammed from the garage or, just cars passing by.
It's a good bedroom.
Yeah, it's the best place to record a podcast.
Yeah.
Not? They tell you, make sure you find a room where there's minimal noises so you don't have to edit them out. But I didn't do that, so.
Oh, well. Oh, well. And Jesse, my energy is up. You know, my energy only goes up so high. My energy goes up to about your low energy.
What? Oh my god. Jackie, do you drink coffee?
No,
Oh my
never
gosh.
been a
So
coffee
this is
fan.
just you all the time?
Yes.
The funny thing is I know this. I'm talking to these people like, I don't know what your energy level is.
I would say I'm funny. I can
Oh,
make people laugh, but, like, it's not
yeah.
gonna be because I'm high energy.
uh, yeah, that's true. Your giggles don't come from high energy at all. You're like, "Hello, I'm Jackie. I'm so funny." Oh, goodness. All right, back on track. Let's talk about working through those slumps before we lose every listener and no one comes back. So now Jackie's going to walk through her most recent slump and what we can expect to get from her in the blog. She's not going to give you all the things she talks about in there, but a little sneak peek, little tips, little something. And then we can just keep talking about how we can get through them.
Right, yeah.
So you want to take the floor?
Sure, I'll go ahead. Slumps are funny, right? They kinda sneak up on you, and that's where I found myself. So if you read the first blog or listened to the podcast that I joined about a month ago, I did talk a lot about having a piece about being laid off and kinda entering into a new stage of my life. And so it's kinda you might think it's weird that you're now going to enter into a subject about being in a slump because you had so much peace about it. But what I found is I was jolted into a new lifestyle, right? So I'm writing full time now. I'm managing my own time. No one's keeping me accountable. If I'm going to do it, it's because I'm going to do it. And so that was really difficult after surviving for a decade in actually not really a decade, a whole lifetime, right? Of having someone that was going to keep you accountable, right? Either it was a teacher with a grade, in college it was to graduate, and then of course when you go into the workforce, so you're being held accountable by
Mhm.
something. So that was really really different. And super excited for a while, and what happened was is that when you get into writing, so if you're writing anything, you find that sometimes the beginning is the hardest because it's like you get into a groove, but everybody calls when you get into a novel, they call it like the nasty middles or the dreaded middles. And the reason why is because you get into the middle and you're writing, and every time you think you're getting to the midpoint, you're like, man, it just got like 10 scenes further away. It just got 10 scenes further away. And so
Mhm.
it always feels like you're not making progress. And I have a friend who she always tells me, everything you write is going to matter. It may not end up on the page, but it's going to help you in some way. And so I try to remember that, but it's also really frustrating when you're thinking, I would be so much further. I thought I'd be done. I thought I
Mhm.
would be halfway, whatever it
Oh,
is.
yeah. Mhm.
So that's kind of what I went through. And then of course we went on vacations, life got in the way, kids
Mhm.
got sick,
Yeah.
Jessie called me 3 times a day, whatever
Okay.
it was.
Okay. Okay, Imma shut you down right there. I did call her.
Sometimes I call her 3
I
days a
call
day.
I call her a lot, but she calls me a lot. That's what happens when you're fun employed.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
kidding.
finding any excuse not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't relate totally to the novel aspect of what you're talking about, but anyone who listened last week's knows that I also struggle with slumps and also struggle through that period of like, oh, I just don't want to do anything because you do a lot of great things. And for me, like my blog, right? My blog and my podcast, like I'm loving it. I'm loving being back into it, but it's a lot of work and not a lot of payoff in the beginning, right? Like you're helping people as the goal here, right? If your goal is to make a ton of money by starting a podcast, like like, you need to find a new goal. I'm just kidding. It will pay off eventually, right? Like, all these things pay off eventually from that perspective, but it's not instant gratification like we talked about last week. None of this, just like writing a novel, when she's going through this process of writing, like, no, like, that's not gonna pay off right now, but it may pay off later. And heck, it may not pay off later either, but it's about the journey. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, about the journey and about, persevering, being determined.
Doing things that you love should always be central. Doing things that make your life better and fill your heart up. Forget about the money aspect. And that's kind of where I'm at, right? It's like I didn't start this blogger podcast and you aren't starting your novel as some sort of self-serving, let me make a ton of money vibe. Like that's not the goal. And if that is the goal, it's never going to work. The goal for me is to help people and to make sure that they're doing the work to try and be their best selves, just like I'm trying to do. Like, literally, helping other people helps me. Like, every time I write a blog, I'm like, oh, this is such good knowledge. I should do this too. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm sure it's very similar to you with this novel situation where it's like, it's tough to keep going when there's no one sitting there on your shoulder being like, you're doing great. That chapter was kick ass.
Yeah. Well, it's tough as well when you're doing something new, right? So when you started your blog, when you
Hmm.
started your podcast, learning your niche and learning, and of course you don't have to be niche, but learning what it is that you want to talk about can be
Hmm.
really hard. I like to post on LinkedIn and people probably are like, what is this girl talking about? Today she's talking about motivation. Today she's talking about sales. Tomorrow she's talking about writing. What is she talking about? And it's because right now I'm kind of just testing the waters. Like, what are things that I know? What are things that I'm interested in?
Hmm.
And figuring it out as I go. So with writing a novel, it's similar, right? I've never written a novel from beginning to end. I've written a lot of
Hmm.
scenes, I've done a lot of character work, but I've never actually completed it. And so
Hmm.
it's really easy in a long-term project, to get stuck. And I love there's this guy on if you follow Dude, Dude, Dad. He's very funny. His family is precious. But he has a thing that he does where he talks about almost done construction or almost their construction. I don't know what he's talking about. But basically, right, they're almost done with the project. And by the time they're almost done, they switch to something new. And that's what I feel
Oh,
like a
yeah.
lot of us do is
Hmm.
because finishing the project can be so hard. It you just have like the devil speaking in your ear like you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. So let's just bop
Hmm.
around to a bunch of things because we
Right.
can't do it. And maybe we can do the next thing. Oh, wait, but I can't do that either. Okay, let me bop around.
Right. I think it's that the struggle of something like taking you off course, right? Because no one's going to do something and it just perfectly happen, right? As simple as this example is like if you get a piece of crappy furniture at a garage sale and you're like, I want to fix it. I want to fix it up. And you get the right stain, the right paint, the right everything to do it. And then halfway through, you realize there's like something like actually wrong with it. And it's like, oh gosh, you know how to fix it. Like, I mean, I know how to fix most things when it comes to furniture. And, I worked for a power tool company. Yeah, represent. But then I get to the point where it's like, oh, but that's going to take more work. It's like the thought of having to do something that's an extra step or a
Mhm.
little bit harder. Like when you hit like a little snag in anything, it's so much easier to be like, I'm going to just take a break. I'm just gonna take a break. Like, I think in your blog, you actually touch on that where you're like, I'm going on this vacation, so I'm just gonna take a couple weeks off. Not a big deal. And it's not a big deal to take a couple weeks off and then just pick it back up. It's just like the gym slump I talked about last week. You can say, oh, I just won't go tomorrow, but don't worry, I'm gonna make it good next week. But then what happens?
Right. Yeah, you don't go. And so
I'm just sitting here like, Jackie, are you gonna respond?
well, you didn't ask a question. You just
Yeah,
said
I just thought
something.
we were in sync, Jackie. Bye, bye,
So
bye.
right, right, you don't go. And so it's just finishing something, right? And I think I said this last time. When I was a creative writing major, I had a professor tell us, it was a group of, 15 of us in this class. Some of you are great writers and you won't be successful. And the reason why he said it was because those of you who are not as good of writers may try harder and actually finish than the ones who are great. And that's the thing, is a lot of times it's not about who's the best at something, it's about the people who can finish a project. And yeah, of course, we need, if you're writing a novel, like you have to know something about grammar for it to be readable. But, like, at the end of the day, and Jessie can tell you this, she has a friend, Natalie, who runs a book club, and Natalie will read these books, and she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is just horribly written. How did this get published?" And it's like, "Because they finished it, and they were able to self-publish it." Right?
Yes.
Like, and so
Shout
but at
out.
the same time, that person accomplished something I never have. Right?
Mhm.
So, it's not about always being the best, it's about finishing and then finding people that can support you and help you and mentor you and push you along the way as well.
Yeah, shout out to the Weirdo Book Club with my friends Natalie, Megan, and Hannah Verrett. If you wanna join a book club, go and check it out. They are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the things, but yeah, so they actually review a ton of different books. They read all the time. I'm a part of the book club. I just am not an active member at the current moment. Sorry, Natalie. I'm trying. I'm trying to get back, but been a little busy. But anyway, yeah, she'll go through and just review different things, and they're quite hilarious to watch because there are some badly written books out there that are like, how did this get published? But there's a lot of people who can like self publish now, like I could write a book. I'm not saying I will, but I could, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it, and it's true for almost anything in this world today. You can almost do anything you wanna do with no money in your bank account at this point, but it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of perseverance, and hopefully you have money in your bank account too, because you need that in order to survive. But slumps are what keep you from doing those things. And I said this too in the blog, right? Slumps can become hard stops. And that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid the hard stop that a slump can cause, because you do get into that negative mindset of, well, I just can't do this. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. And
Mhm.
none of that is true. I mean, maybe you're not the best at it, right? But that doesn't
Right.
mean that you're not good at it or that you won't become good at it the more you try.
Right.
So, I hope that if I write a novel that people like it in the time that I'm living, but there's plenty of authors who people hated their books and now we study them in English classes
Oh my gosh,
and
right?
make ninth graders miserable. So, there's plenty of people out
Oh,
there. You may
Jackie,
just not, your time hasn't come.
maybe you'll become a banned book. We gotta
Maybe,
have goals,
maybe.
people. We gotta have goals. I'd like to be on the banned book list, please. Anyways. Let's hope not. Let's hope you
It's not hard to end up on a banned book list these days. It's not
Yeah,
hard.
apparently. Banned. Banned.
No.
Oh, that'll be fun though. I'm so excited for you with all this stuff. And I think, no amount of excitement from someone else will ever get you to do something yourself. That's something that's really interesting to think about is I don't know how many years I've told you like, "Could you write? Could you write again? I would love to see you write," because I love your writing. I think you're so talented. And so, I mean, all of this gets me so excited. And, I do try to keep you accountable to that in a nice way, like in a not forceful way. And I think the same thing goes for you with keeping me going on the blogs and the podcast, just checking in on me and being like, how's it going? Have you gotten those blogs written for next month? It's so much coming from someone else, but like you have to do it yourself. So it is nice to have like the accountability partner, like we talked about last week, who can just be like checking in on you and making sure that you're okay. But it really does come down to you getting out of those slumps and finding ways for you to do it. So I always feel like it's good to have that accountability partner, that person that can call you and check in on you, like you do with me. Like you always are checking in on me on my blog and my podcast and making sure I keep going. And I try to do the same for you with your novels.
Mhm.
And like we talked about last week, I think routines are huge. Like having some sort of loose routine where you know what you're going to do is huge. And accountability is huge. But there's also other stuff that goes into that because you do need to do it yourself, right? Like no amount of urging or help from someone else is ever going to get you to finish it. So I totally agree with you where your teacher said some of you are great writers, but you're not going to be successful. And that's because some of those other people just have more of the hunger for it, right? They have more of the I need to get this done or timing, right? Timing's huge. But my question for you is what would you think is the biggest thing that has helped you kind of get out of these slumps in the past and then also currently with what you're, currently dealing with?
Yeah, so for me, slumps come and generally manifest pretty quickly and go away pretty quickly. Most of them revolve around negative self-talk, which I know you talk about a lot on the podcast and
Mhm.
the blog. And
Mhm.
so most of the time it is going to be giving that a name, right? So giving the negative self-talk a name. I can't do this. Well, why are you saying that? Why are you saying I can't do
Mhm.
this? Is it the time? Is it the avoidance? What is it? And so what I like to do, and actually what I did recently with this current slump is I told Derek, I said, I think I need to talk to somebody about this. And because I'm just struggling, like I've talked to you about it, I've talked to Jessie about it, and I'm just still struggling, even though I've talked to all of my trusted people. And so, like, I started researching EAP and I started writing the blog for Jessie. And ironically, I got all the information. I started asking friends about like therapist names and recommendations in case I wanted to go outside of the EAP route. And ironically, through writing the blog and like naming everything I was struggling with, I all of a sudden started to feel better. Basically, being willing to take that next step to try and work through what I was doing started to make things better. Now, of course, I don't think that's a long-term solution, right? Because you're always going to have those momentary, I'm in a slump and now I've made a step in the right direction. So things are great, but you have to continue taking the steps, right? So if you're going to work your way out of the slump, it's understanding that every step forward is a positive step. And if you need to talk to someone, do that. If you don't, then you still need to be taking steps forward. So if it's writing a novel, if you wrote 500 words today, fantastic. Hopefully you come back tomorrow, but you need to write. It doesn't matter if you took 3 days off, write 500 words today. If it's a work thing, a blog thing, a social media thing, whatever it is that you're trying to do, build your own business, what one step can you take forward today? You can worry about
Mhm.
everything else tomorrow, right? And so that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing, I think.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I definitely think that's very centric to how I get help as well as writing it all out really helps for me. Like journaling is not something I ever was able to be consistent about, but literally my blog is journaling. Like I forget sometimes that like what I am doing is pretty much what I would write in a journal. as well. So, essentially, doing that, it's super healing for me. It gets me to understand where I'm actually at. There was a piece of time that in my life, I literally was just writing blogs, but I wasn't posting them. I wanted to get back into the blogging. I wanted to get back into the podcasting, but I couldn't find how to start and I didn't know how to break back into the fold. So I was just writing a bunch of how I was feeling and they were very inspirational. Like I went back through my archives and I was like, "Oh my gosh, your girl was on it." But I thought for an entire year I just took some time off. I didn't. I didn't take time off. I just didn't do the extra work. I didn't do the work of the art or the website or the stuff to get it out, the social media. I just wrote them in my Google Doc and left them there. So, I do think there's a lot to be said about sometimes you can't actually get yourself to do that next step, but you can get yourself to do something small. And like Jackie said, and that something small for me was I was still writing out how I felt. And in a way, that still was helping me. I just wasn't essentially sharing because I was almost embarrassed or felt like no one wants to hear what I'm going through. I just need to show this exterior of I'm fine, everything's fine. And internally, I'll just write these blogs and keep them to myself and that's what I did. So that's similar to like the blog coming out next week, the how to break down your facade. I talked through that. I talked through how we easily can hide behind these happy exteriors because, it's harder to share what we're going through. It's harder to tell people you're not okay or that something's going on and you think you can just figure it out on your own. And sometimes you can't. So I think it's important to celebrate the wins. It's important to take the steps, no matter how small. And so that'll be fun to walk into next month. I think it'll be fun
Mhm.
to get out of these slumps, get out of this time of negativity,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get back into a place where, come on, guys, we're doing great, okay? Like if all you did today was you got up, you put this podcast on, and now you're feeling great, and you're like, let's go out for a jog. I love that. Get out and jog.
I don't think I've ever woke up and thought, "I'm ready to go jog today."
Ah,
So,
well,
not
yep.
not ever, but, to each his or her own. I got up today and I got ready for the day, so that's important. And I do wanna touch on, right, celebrating the wins no matter how small. It could be taking a step, it could be setting a routine, it could be doing research on how to set a routine, right? So, there's a million ways to do it. I know for me, Jesse and I talked about this yesterday. I'm really trying to get into kind of the batch working mindset, right? So I do right now a lot of different things. So if I need to write a few blogs for Jesse, if I know what topics I have coming up, how many can I spit out? So at least I get ideas on paper at one time. So kind of just setting up that idea of working on similar things so that you're not having to constantly bounce around because it is hard to go from like, let's podcast, let's blog, let's novel write, let's do sales work for
Right.
somebody, that kind of thing.
Because it's hard when I think it's just as hard for us who are people without bosses now, right? Like I joke about being fun employed, but we're not actually unemployed. Like I do have a job. So it's like I actually do marketing work on the side and I have time for that and I get that done and that's one of my jobs. But then I also have this other hat that I wear that's my blogging and my podcasting, just like Jackie has her novel hat. And she's helping out other people too, and she's helping me out. Like Jackie's doing a lot. So it's one of those things where we wear all these different hats, but I do think it's just as hard for somebody who has a job and they do have that manager to talk to and they also want to have a side hustle, right? So I mean, I think that this topic is so big. Slumps are so huge. Burnout is huge. It's something that everyone I think our age or even younger or older has experienced. And it's just about getting back to a place where you can feel in somewhat of control of different things. Now, control can be a double edged sword because then you might try to over control. So don't recommend that.
Yeah.
Having some sense of my life has some little bit of a loose routine where I can at least be okay when things don't go my way. Like if one thing comes in and it tries to stop you, it's like, okay, that's fine. I can move this around and do this tomorrow. And, because then you have an idea of timing of where things are going to go versus when you're not routined, you're just trying to do everything at once. It's like, okay, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And you just pick it all up at the same time. And it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's a good point too, pointing out, for those of you who are traditionally employed, right? Managing your lifestyle is going to look a bit different from me and Jesse at this moment simply because of the way that our lives are currently set up. So, understanding that when you work an 8-hour day, coming home and like sitting down and writing 500 words seems like impossible if you're writing a novel, right? Because all I did today was get yelled at by customers or my boss or
Mhm.
whoever, right?
Mhm.
And so it seems impossible. But writing 500 words takes about 30 minutes, right? So,
Right.
where in your day can you find 30 minutes? And if that 30 minutes is for you to improve yourself in whatever way that you want to improve yourself,
Like a workout,
find 30 minutes.
Like,
Mhm.
I go on Netflix a lot, and, like, when I'm at home, there's all these different tools I have to do at home workouts, and lately, I've been going to the gym and stuff, but I always forget that I'm like, I have all these tools at home to get a really good workout in, like, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, if that's all you have is 10 minutes, go on Netflix and type in Nike workout or something, because Nike has all these different workouts on there that you can just watch for well, it's not for free. You have to pay for Netflix, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you have Netflix, it's free. Or go to YouTube. I know there's a ton of free workouts on YouTube. So, that's something that if you're thinking, "Oh, it's just I don't have enough time to work out." You do. We all have at least 10 minutes that we can dedicate to ourselves. That was something I urged you to do last week, and so I wonder, have you done that? I'm gonna put a little poll up in this blog, and I wanna see who actually took some time for themselves and actually had some much needed me time in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, because me time looks different for everybody, right? It's not
Mhm.
always a side hustle, it's not
Yeah.
always working out. It could literally be you scrolling for 15 minutes, but just remember that if scrolling is getting in the way of you doing something else, then
Yeah. Then it's a
it's time to
distraction.
reevaluate, right?
Right. Me time should be something that's healing or relaxing or just some way where you can improve that relationship with yourself. Because I do think often we are so into improving our relationships with other people, but we forget that you got to be friends with yourself too. You got to
Mhm.
like get to know you too. Because sometimes you look in that mirror and you're like, who is that? Who did I become? Where did this weight come from? You'll just see things differently. I don't think a lot of people just avoid the mirror. They don't want to look at it. Look at yourself, see where you need to improve, and start spending that me time with yourself. Because I really do think I'm able to work through slumps a lot better when I know who I am and when I truly know what's going on with me. But if I'm not talking to me, then I don't know that, you know?
Yep. Yep. Well, it's been awesome talking to you about this, and
Jackie, you don't get to end the show. To be
no, I
clear,
know. I'm letting you end the show, but it's been
let
awesome,
me
and I
let
know
you
we've
go.
kinda let me let you go. Also, we're gonna name and drop a few things right now in this moment. So if you guys don't know, there's a guy on Instagram. He's probably on TikTok too, I don't know. But his handle is Landon Talks, like the name Landon Talks. So if you wanna hear about some really Southern things and how things are done in the South, I encourage you to go listen to it. So, like he says, right, I'm gonna let you go.
See, the difference between Jackie and I is I say, "Imma let you go." I don't give people the option. It's, "Imma let you go." And apparently that's rude. And I'm like, "Well, whatever." But Jackie's the kinder side of me saying, "Let me let you go." Oh my gosh.
I just want the power. Oh,
The
I heard the
dogs are
dogs.
barking.
Yeah. I just like having the power of let me let you go because I look like the nice one in that moment. So but yeah, no, I'm just saying it's been a pleasure speaking with you about this topic. And I know we've kind of gone back and forth a few times and but I look forward to next month. Jesse asked me again to write for next month a different blog. So I'm excited to share my thoughts with you next month as well in the blog and
Mhm.
look forward to talking to you guys again soon.
I love that Jackie legit, like, because we just be riffing. I know that's probably why y'all are like, "This is a little all over the place." We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it all together, I promise. But anyway, Jackie's over here like, "Let me just do my outro. Let me just finish this. We've been on here for a while, Jessie. It's time to wrap it up." That's what Jackie's saying. She's like, "It's time to wrap it up, woman."
Hey, I'm just trying to help you out. I'm just trying to help you be accountable.
Thank you, Jackie. Is this your show now? Do you wanna take it over?
I don't I don't know if people would come listen to me talk. Like I said, I'm one energy level. One energy level.
Oh my gosh, would that not be the funniest thing? Jackie's podcast would start off like, "Hey, it's me, Jackie again." Yep.
No, it would just be a lot of words. If you guys wanna know, again, one last story, and this is something else you should know about people in the South. We don't actually end phone conversations when we say we are. So, one final story, Jessie, when she was going through my blog, she was like, "This word, I just don't agree with it." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "It's just you said it's exhausting, and I just don't or it's not exhausting, but I think it is exhausting." And I said, "That's not the word. I said exhaustive." I said, "This is not exhaustive
I'm
of
like,
what I'm
"What
going
the heck
through."
does that mean?" I Googled it. I did go to college, and I did take a lot of lessons in reading and language and learning, but Jackie uses words, I'm like, "I haven't heard that since they made me define it back in the, like, 5th grade."
Yeah, yeah, I was telling a story about I was talking to my son. I said, Your actions merit the consequences that you're
Oh,
receiving."
Jackie.
And my son is not even 4. I was like,
Jackie.
I need to change that."
Jackie, you need to dumb down your language for all of us down here.
No, I refuse.
You're
I
like, "You have to meet me up
refuse.
here." He is 4.
Not
Leave
even. Not
leave
even
my
4.
godchild alone. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Jackie's right. We've been rambling on here for a while, but I hope you at least got some insight into how you could work through a slump if you're actually someone going through something like that right now. And don't forget to celebrate the wins, no matter how small. I'm excited to walk through that topic next month. So come back in July. We are going to be talking about that. We actually will be having our next podcast a little earlier than normal because the next Tuesday we would have released it would have been around July 4th weekend and all of that stuff. So we're going to give you a early look into that. So we're actually going to release that probably, let me see. Let me look at the calendar. Yeah, probably like late June, right before the weekend starts. So probably like either that Friday the 30th or Thursday the 29th. I'll let you guys know, obviously, when I know that. And I'll put it on the socials. So go ahead and make sure you follow all those to make sure that you know what's coming. All right. Well, thanks. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. We love you. Bye. Jack, you have to say bye.
Oh, well, yeah, I thought you were ending it. I already said bye,
Oh, you
technically.
have to do it with me. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my
Bye.
God. She's not coming back. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, rate, review, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or pretty much anywhere you can listen to podcasts. For more from Cali Chats, visit CaliCreates.com, or you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Everything is linked in the podcast bio. Talk to y'all later. Bye.